And we are live. You are watching eToro's What You Didn't Know About Copy Trading webinar. For anyone who doesn't know me, my name is Annie and I head community here at eToro. I must remind you before we get started that trading CFDs bears risk to your capital. Past performance is not an indication of future results, and your losses can exceed your deposits. So tonight I will be walking you through what is really just the copy journey, and hopefully along the way showing you some things maybe you didn't know, or some tips that may help you along in the process. So to get us started, we're looking here at our people page, which you can find on the left of your screen. This is basically the first step in obviously finding people to actually add to your portfolio. You can see that you have a number of predefined searches already available to you. So you have your top investors, you have your trending, most copied, and so on. And here at the very top, you have what is your advanced search. So in here, you can basically filter through different parameters to find the right people for you, depending on whatever it is you're looking for. So you can get somebody based on how popular they are as a trader, obviously their stats, their risk appetite, even the particular markets that they invest their money in. So you have this available to you. I'm just going back to the default here. And I am going to grab a popular investor real quick. So just a couple things to bear in mind when you are navigating that page. The blue star that you may see on some profiles means that they are a popular investor, and I will share a link on my wall after this webinar to explain what that is. And if you want to join, you can get through that as well. And then the other symbol you may see on a profile is a little green tick, which means that the account is verified. I'll add more information on that as well later. But that's just kind of an overall view so you understand what's happening there. So kind of looking here at this person, I do want to add that actually, because this is a product demonstration, I will use my virtual portfolio to copy them, just so that you can kind of see how everything works. So while you're on this page, while you're looking at their stats, you can basically hover over that little eye over each section to learn more about what that means and how something is calculated. So you'll see here there's a click here link. There is something like that on every section. I will also include a link to a previous webinar about the risk score so that this is explained in a bit more detail for you. Yeah, in the meantime, this is kind of the overall picture. If you have any questions, you're welcome to fire those my way in the meantime, in the questions or chat section of this platform. So while you're in here, you also want to check out their portfolio. Check if they have any open positions. This is something that will come up again in a couple of minutes time when you start copying the person. And also while you are here, you can check out their history, sort of group everything together so you know what they're more or less investing in. And that's sort of this page in a nutshell. So with these things out of the way, what you really want to do is copy. So this is the part that needs the most attention. So I'll put in here 1,000. Your amount is obviously very straightforward. It's how much you want to copy somebody with. But let's drill down a little bit more into it to understand what you need to consider when entering that amount. So the technical minimum at eToro is $100. However, this average copy trade size that you see here is going to be an indicator of how much higher, if at all, this minimum may be on a particular trader that you choose to copy. So kind of explaining how these copy trades work, I'll take it back a step to sort of say that when you as a copier pick up somebody else's position, you are doing so with the proportion of your copy balance, whereas that proportion sort of starts with that original trade's value in proportion to that person's equity. So I know that doesn't make sense. So I'll take another step back. Your equity, as a reminder, is basically your balance plus the current value of your invested funds, meaning the current value of your open trades. Whereas the copy balance is simply the money left in the copy amount that isn't tied up in open positions. So you copy this person, they open, say they have 10%, sorry, another step back. Say they have 50% of their funds free, and then their equity is worth, sorry, their invested funds are worth, $100, and their balance has $300. Say they have $400. If they open a trade with 10% of that, they're getting a $40 trade. However, what you are doing is, say you are copying them with $100. That same 10% is going to come from your is going to be $10 for you, assuming you don't have any open positions. If you also have say 1/4 of your money tied up in open trades, then your available amount becomes $75, meaning your trade opens up at $7.50. I know I rambled a bit there, so I'll write it down again for you later when we get back to my wall. But that's sort of the proportion in a nutshell. Now, why that is important is because the more positions somebody opens, it means the less funds you actually have available for new trades to be opened. So the absolute minimum for a copy trade to be executed is $1. However, I'm sure you can see from here, say we put in $100. So you can see already from here, the average trade is going to be $4. So if half of the money is already tied up in trades, it means that you have even less to work with. So you do run the risk of missing out on new positions. So that's kind of the first step. I will move it back up to 1,000 here. That's kind of your first step. But the next sort of sector, I guess, the next point in the process for you is obviously to try to protect whatever you do invest, and that is where this section comes in. So this is called your copy stop loss. If you trade manually, you already know what a stop loss is, and the copy stop loss is not too far off in that it is a limit you set starting from 5% all the way up to 95% that will close out and uncopy someone once, again, your copy equity has dropped past a particular level as chosen by you. So the default here is 40%, which means my $1,000, once I'm down to 600 only, then I automatically uncopy this person. So the copy stop loss is really just one of many preventative measures that we have in place to help you manage your risk. It's not the only thing we have, and another point to kind of consider when you're on this is that some traders may tell you to set a 95% maximum, but you should go with whatever you are comfortable with in doing so to avoid losing more than what you actually wanted to risk with this person. If they can give you a reason for it, that's even better, but if they can't, sort of trust your gut on this one and move it to a value that you are comfortable with. So that's your copy stop loss, and your final section of your copy window is to copy open trades. Now, what this allows you to do is actually take on already running investments just at whatever the current market price is. So in the event that you copy someone while they have running trades, you can pick them up. Say with something like stocks, if you copy them while they're the US stock market is closed, then you will get the first available rate when the market opens. So in these sorts of situations, it means that they can actually close in a profit and you close in a loss because your opening values will be different. But then it can also happen on the other side where you close in profit, whereas they lose. So this is kind of the copy window in a nutshell. Now that you sort of understand how the copy proportions work, you'll understand as well that traders' withdrawals affect you and affect your copy amounts. So we recently launched something called the copy dividends to sort of counter this. And what it does is every time someone you copy withdraws part of their money, the proportional amount will be removed from your copy balance back into your account balance automatically, and your copy stop loss will be adjusted accordingly as well. So this is another topic that I will link to on my wall afterwards, so you can do a bit more reading about it. And that's sort of this section in a nutshell. Kind of now that you sort of understand how it begins and how to maintain it, the last section of the copy experience is how to get out. So copying really is not that different from maintaining your own manual portfolio, in that it still requires maintenance. It still requires you to cut losing traders just as you would cut losing trades. But to avoid uncopying somebody altogether and losing any funds that you already have tied up, we introduced something called the pause copy that actually lets you get out without closing your trade. So it keeps your open positions under that person's control effectively, and any new positions will be blocked from being open for you, so you can like ease out of it a little bit without losing your money. When you do pause copy though, you do need to bear in mind that if you move money out of the balance, you may be triggering your copy stop loss, so that is something to be conscious of here. And the final point I can really just say here is that the key to successful copying is something that is constantly coming up, and that is to diversify as much as you can, and really rather than sort of worrying about which markets that person is investing in, you need to sort of worry about which people you are investing in. So cut people when it sort of turns the other way, not necessarily the first sign of a bad trade, but you know, you can't necessarily get in on somebody and sort of stay with them till the end, because it just doesn't work like that. It is something that needs to be reviewed and something that needs to be monitored. So that's kind of everything I wanted to cover with you in terms of some of the features that you may not have known about. If you have any questions, please do share them with me now in the questions box. I do have one here, which is, what are the commissions for copying? There are no fees on you as somebody who copies. That's kind of where the Popular Investor Program comes in that if somebody has lots of copiers and they're performing well and consistently, we will pay them as eToro. There are different kinds of categories for these popular investors. There are different payment structures, but basically we take this upon ourselves so that you don't have to. At no point does it become something that you need to worry about with the people that you copy. So I hope that answers your question a little bit. Does anybody else have any other questions? They can just add now. Doesn't look like anyone else has anything to add. Again, you're more than welcome to stop by my wall. That is eToro. You can see it in the corner. And I will be happy to answer any questions that do come up there. So thank you again for joining. Thank you for watching, and please do come visit my wall.